Welcome to the Limerick Post Show with me, Meghann Scully. Delighted now to be joined by Lisa O'Rourke Scott from Limerick Mental Health Association. How are you?
Hello, lovely to meet you.
You too. And I have to say, I think, this has come at a really important time because, I think at the moment we are in lockdown 3.0, and I think mental health for a lot of people in some way, shape, or form, people are affected by it. And I think it's really important that maybe we chat about, different services available and maybe something that can help people get through the next couple of weeks and maybe even months.
Absolutely. It's been a really, I think when it drags on, it becomes quite stressful for people because, things when they seem temporary aren't as bad, which is one of the tips I want to talk about in terms of what people can do themselves in terms of their mindset, you know.
And I think, one thing I noticed, I feel like the first lockdown was kind of novelty in a way because we didn't really know what was going on, and we were all working from home, and we were getting to wear the PJs for longer maybe, and we were kind of
Yes.
just around the house. When I think the second one, we had motivation for Christmas and we were kind of like, right, we'll get through it, and it wasn't as tough the second one. This third one obviously is a lot tougher. Restrictions are a lot stricter, even though the vaccine is here and is arriving week by week. There's more people getting vaccinated, so there is an end in sight. But I just find that I've been talking to a lot of people, and people are really struggling with motivation and even just to change out of their
Yes.
pajamas.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is really difficult. And at the same time, I don't want to be saying things that are very trite. There are people who are struggling enormously and finding it incredibly upsetting for a range of reasons, including financial, including personal circumstances. And I don't want to underestimate, issues such as people who are in circumstances of domestic abuse.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk this down, but at the same time, I can't ignore the fact that there are some people for whom it's incredibly difficult, and there are no simple solutions. However, there are some things that people can do in terms of minding their mental health and getting a kind of a bit of perspective on it. As you say, it's the third time and people are like, oh no, not again. So I think one of the things that people need to remind themselves of is this too will pass. It will pass. And almost like a little bit of self-talk that we need to keep reassuring ourselves, myself included. Yes, this is going to pass. As you said, the vaccine is on the way. It will not persist forever. Similarly, when there are financial issues, which for some people it's very, very stressful at the moment financially, again, this time will pass and you will find solutions, and you almost need to kind of trust yourself and keep reminding yourselves that it's going to pass. It's going to end at some point. And sometimes we can get so bogged down in the minutiae of, oh no, not again, and I can't do this and I can't do that, and I love an old browse in the shops, and I just the normal, I'd like to go for a pint, all of those things, that we forget that it is temporary, and maybe think of ourselves as being safe at home, rather than locked down. I know we are locked down, but maybe to try and reframe that in a more positive way, which says we're just keeping safe, we're minding ourselves. The vaccine is on the way, thank goodness a vaccine is on the way, because it's been very long. And it's okay to acknowledge that it's very long. I'm not suggesting people should be all chirpy and not acknowledge their feelings, but also then just to remind themselves that it will pass.
Exactly. And what do you think could be maybe the basics that we could do from our homes? I suppose the first thing is to be grateful that we have a roof and food on the table. So what could be the basic things that maybe we start to bring into even a daily practice that maybe could just help us just get through the day even?
Yeah. So I suppose there's a couple of things in terms of relationships. Relationships are so important to human beings, which is why I wanted to flag that, domestic abuse is a whole other situation that I'm not talking about today. But for people in that situation, make contact with services and see, can you put a safety plan in place? For those of us not troubled by domestic abuse, there's still relationship issues. You either have too much or too little. We're hearing anecdotally that relationships are under strain because people are spending so much time together, you know. And one of my friends was joking the other day that perhaps there's a limited number of hours you can spend with a person in a lifetime. And if you have them all together, it becomes a problem. So what I would say to, I suppose, on both ends of it, on the one hand, try and make space for yourself within your household. Try and separate yourself, even if it means kind of locking yourself in the bathroom for an hour with a book and having a bath. Try and make some alone time. Now that obviously could result in bangs on bathroom doors and things, but to try and make some alone time that you don't feel like we all have to be all jolly together and talking to each other and friends 24 hours a day. You know, sometimes for an introvert like me, sometimes you need to be by yourself. But on the other end of that are people who are too much alone.
Yeah.
And for those people, what I would say is, if you can, think about somebody you'd like to be kind to and reach out to them and make sure they're okay. Because there's something very nourishing about taking care of other people. So even if it's texting or Zoom calling or whatever it is, mind other people. And in doing so, you'll be reaching out for yourself, because looking after other people is good for the soul. It's good for your mental health if you're making sure other people are okay. And obviously those people will benefit from that as well. So it kind of makes us feel good about ourselves. So so that's in terms of relationships. Mm-hmm. I think that's a huge one. Obviously, if you can get outside, then you should get outside. We have had some lovely, lovely days. Cold, but sunny and pleasant. So I think I'm not a huge exercise freak or anything, but I do a bit of fresh air. To accidentally encounter people when you're out for a walk. So that's another way in which, you know, we can promote mental health. The days are, I know it's only a couple of weeks since the solstice, but the days are getting a little bit longer. There is, I wouldn't say a grand stretch, but a small stretch, And I do think the sunny, I'm down in Dingle. I don't know what, I saw pictures of people in Limerick with frost and
a little bit of snow.
Little bit of snow, which is at least pretty. But if could you get out in that?
Yeah, I have to say the footpaths, I'm in the city now, and the footpaths are a little bit tricky in areas because we're, you know, without sun and everything. But if you wrap up warm and just take your time and literally take baby steps, and I think that what I've noticed is, and I say it to drivers and pedestrians, you can't drive or walk the way you would in regular weather. So I think drivers and pedestrians just need to slow down. It might take a little bit longer, but it's literally, I think it's kind of almost analogy for what we're going through. It's baby steps. So it's baby steps on the ice and it's baby steps through the lockdown. And as you said, I think it was nice there about the stretch coming in the evening. I suppose as each evening we get a little bit more of a stretch, we're getting a little bit closer. And I think with the thing that's keeping us all going is knowing that when we do come out of this, that we will have brighter evenings and hopefully, you know, the weather will start to get better. And I think that's kind of what we're all looking forward to for sure.
Yeah, and I suppose when I was talking about getting outside, one of the things I wanted to emphasize was that people should be gentle with themselves. This is New Year's resolution time, and I think that it's okay to not have any this year. I think that, and I've written a little bit about this for the Limerick Mental Health newsletter. I think it's okay to have your resolution to be just get through this year. Don't be putting pressure on yourself to lose 4 stone and get really fit and climb a mountain and just get through the first 6 months. of 2021. We've had a very unusual year in 2020. And I think 21, the only pressure people should put on themselves is just be kind to themselves. Just be a little bit nice. Don't be trying to write that book, do all those other things, you know. Apart from anything else, some people may already have lots to do because the children are going to be at home.
Yeah, and I think that's I think parents are kind of, I suppose, going to be struggling to the idea of homeschooling. And I think, you know, teachers as well. I've a lot of friends who are teachers. I have a lot of aunties who have young children, and, you know, everyone's, I guess, kind of scared and nervous about what's happening. But, you know, I suppose it's important, as you said, to get out every day and even get the kids out every day. And, you know, I think nobody should put pressure on anyone else, because teachers are trying to adapt, parents are trying to adapt, kids are trying to adapt. Like, we're all, as you said, I think kindness to yourself is really important. I think just being gentle with other people as well, because I think there's a tendency for people to get angry and to kind of push anger out onto everyone and everything, and blame a lot of people, which I think it's, you know, as I'm trying to say to a lot of people too, we have to forget about what's happened in the past. We have to forget about the mistakes that were made. You know, we have to try our best to look forward to what's coming.
Yeah. And again, that whole idea of maybe a little bit of mindfulness, of just enjoying what's available to us at the time and making space for ourselves. Little things like, you know, being out in the garden, having a long hot bath, you know, nothing that requires pressure. And I suppose that was my last point in terms of the children's education. Everybody's in the same boat. They will be fine. They will keep learning because they are children, and that's what children do. And I know that the Leaving Cert students particularly are being very stressed out. I lecture in higher education, and I would say that the most interested people that I teach are the people who come back as mature students. They're the people who are really into it. And again, this is about kind of pressure. It's like, do you know what? If you don't get 500-600 points in your Leaving Cert, honestly, you'll find something. Your life will be good. And, you know, there will be other stabs at it. Everybody is in the same boat. Everybody is go. So this is a weird year for everybody. It's not like each individual Leaving Cert student is the only one, and similarly with the small ones. There's an interesting finding actually in the psychological evidence in relation to homeschooling, and I'm not suggesting everybody convert to homeschooling because everybody says it's bad for the children's emotional development. I don't think it's great for parents' emotional development either, because they're with them all the time, and much as we love them, sometimes we need to not be with them. But one of the interesting things that they find when they study people who do homeschooling is that for the first few months, maybe 2-3 months, children are inclined to sit around and have no structure and watch television and play computer games, and parents can get really kind of upset about this. Now, obviously, you don't want somebody playing computer games for 24 hours a day. But what they've found with homeschoolers is, after a while, children start developing their own interests. Because ultimately, these sitting around watching telly, it gets old after a while. I don't know how much binge watching you've been doing, but I've been doing some, and I'm getting fed up now. Do you know? It's there's only so much of that you can do, and maybe encourage children to paint, to draw, to listen to stories on audiobooks, to, you know, explore things that they're interested in, but not in a pressurized, we must follow the syllabus kind of way, but more in a kind of, I suppose, a Montessori kind of way, that learning is actually enjoyable and fun. And any of the, I'm not trying to undermine the teachers giving people lessons, but don't stress, you know. Teachers are experts in doing lessons with children. Not all parents are. And also you have a different relationship with your children. So you may find that they won't do for you what they do for their teacher. And that isn't you failing, that's just the way it is, you know. And again, I suppose that goes back to people just being gentle, being kind, forgiving themselves,
Yeah.
reducing pressure on themselves, I guess.
Yeah, and I think as well, yeah, I think to go easy on ourselves and to just take it day by day. And I know I know it's very easy to think far ahead, and it's also very easy to slip back into the past. And I think trying to be present is probably something very difficult. But I think you mentioned there about, being mindful, and I think that helps with
Yeah.
trying to ground yourself and live in the day. And I'm trying my best every time my mind tries to think far ahead. I'm like, no, back to today. What are you going to do for lunch?
Yeah.
For dinner? Just
Yeah.
in the one day. And look, it's a battle for everyone. I'd say even the people who are super positive all the time probably still even have to train themselves as well. So I think once everyone understands that we're all, as you said, in the same boat, and we're all trying to survive here as well.
And I find that, going back to the being kind to people, if I'm having a bad day or a bad week, one of the things that helps me is if I'm especially nice to other people, because if you're kind to people in the way that you would like people to be kind and tender to you, you'll get that back. If you get all angry and uptight and shouty, that you get more of that.
Yeah.
You get back what you put out. So I think the kindness, being kind to others, is a way of being kind to yourself.
Yes, exactly, the law of attraction. Lisa, that's it all right. The website limerickmentalhealth.ie, and I know you've a list of services up there as well, but also mental health services that are in and around Limerick for people if they want to, talk to someone or reach out to someone. It's all there on your website.
It is, yeah, and I would recommend that people go to the website and look through and, join stuff, ask for help, and peer support is also wonderful, which is obviously a big part of our work in Limerick Mental Health.
Amazing. And where can we read your newsletters, or do we need to sign up?
Can you sign up on the website?
Amazing. Okay,
So
brilliant.
Yeah.
Lisa, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, and just getting some tips and tricks off you that I know will be very helpful for people. And of course, as I said again, limerickmentalhealth.ie for all the resources and services that are available. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care. Mind yourselves and be kind.